Hi, I'm Stu Kagan. Welcome to Born Scrappy, the podcast for scrap metal exporters and traders. Join me in conversation with some of the most experienced traders and operators that have helped shape this incredible industry. In today's episode, we're joined by Michael Pawlowski. Michael is the founder and chairman of the Oryx Stainless Group. Oryx has been trading for over 25 years now, and they are currently one of the largest buyers of stainless in the world. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting to Michael, and I always leave having learned so much. Let's get into the episode so you can hear directly from Michael. But first, intro. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Stuart, very well. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I'm really glad to have you on the show today. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We spoke about it for a little while, so I'm glad to have you. We've known each other for quite a long time. So, it's good to have you on the show. How are you? How are you, Michael? How's everything? Where are you based at the moment?
I'm in Switzerland at the moment, based the last couple of years here. So yeah, not much to complain, as you can see with the weather. So
yeah, I can see in the background there. It's looking beautiful. Is that your office?
That's my home office. Yeah, office obviously
Yeah,
is
amazing.
in Dordrecht and in Mülheim. Yeah.
Right. No, that's great. Michael, for those people who don't know you, and I expect a lot of people will know you and your company, but for those that don't, can you give us a little bit of background of Oryx Stainless Steel and how it came about?
Yeah, Oryx stainless steel. We are stainless steel processors. Yeah. We are around almost now 30 years. Yeah. It started in the 90s in Rotterdam. Yeah, then we operated out of a yard. Many of you guys or many of the listeners will know a company called Fondel. We operated out of a 1,000 square meter yard there. Yeah, and then grow from there. The rest is more or less history. Yeah. We operate.
Where are you now?
So we operate.
You don't just have a 1,000 square meter yard anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
What have you got now, Michael?
Not anymore. So now we operate. Our main yard obviously is in Dordrecht in the Netherlands. We operate another yard in Mülheim an der Ruhr in Germany, and we are in Thailand. We took over the One Steel operation a couple of years ago there, and we have an operation in Vilanova, which is near Barcelona.
And what sort of volumes do you guys trade on an annual or monthly basis?
Oryx trades and processes, not only trades, but processes around 600,000 tons of stainless steel, mainly 304 and 316.
Right. And do you do bulk and barges as well, or is it mainly in containers?
Yeah, on the way out, obviously, it's mainly in vessels, in barges, in vessels, and sometimes with rail on the rails, but incoming everything from trucks to barges to containers. Yeah,
I have had the pleasure of visiting a few of your sites, so it's always
and we had
pretty
the pleasure
interesting.
Having you as a supplier as well.
Yeah, it was. It's always interesting looking at mountains of stainless steel compared to what I was always used to as mountains of HMS. So it's a lot shinier. Your yard's a lot shinier.
It's also more risky at times. So
yeah, well, and what you've been through the last few years, no doubt, it's been pretty scary. Let's talk about trading, Michael. Obviously the last few years have been really difficult to navigate with the nickel crisis. But what's the toughest trades you've had to deal with in the past that you can maybe think, and hopefully we can learn from some of the tough times you've been through?
Yeah, it's a good one. So there are many tough trades we had to go through the last decades. Yeah, but the ones who are standing out is always when there are drastic market movements. Yeah, let's say back in 2007, nickel was at 50,000. Then I remember I was where was I? In South Africa, actually, on a golf game with Mark Sellier. Many of you guys will know him. Yeah, and
Mark was one of the first we interviewed.
Like, 20,000, so we were down to whatever 20,000 down on the end of the round, and I not only lost the match there, but a good fortune as well. So, but yeah, jokes apart, always when these drastic market movements happen, and we saw that lately again with the famous 100,000. Yeah, it is very difficult than let's say to find the right strategy. First of all, I mean, most of us bigger guys with larger positions have to be hedged. Yeah, and in markets like that, it's very, very difficult to navigate. So it's all about teamwork. Then you sit together, you see where you're standing, and you assess where you're standing, and you're trying to make the best out of it. Yeah. So experience helps, of course, but every situation is a new one. So you always have to approach it as a new situation. And yeah, use your experience, use the clever people who work for you, with you, and trying to navigate out of the mess. Yeah.
Yeah, you've always had a really good team around you. So do you rely on that team quite a lot to help you when tough decisions are needing to be made?
Yeah, 100%. So this is one of the lessons I learned, and something I can recommend. Always surround you with people who are either better than you or complement you. Yeah. And don't be arrogant with that. Yeah. Just in my case, it's easy to surround myself with better people.
Oh,
but
yeah, sure.
no, jokes apart. Again, it's very crucial. Yeah? So in our business, good people is everything. And I'm not only talking about management. I'm talking about people in the yard. I'm talking about people on the weight bridge. Our business has the possibility of, how do I put it, to be very creative in many ways. Yeah, so you have to be very careful who you choose work with you for you. Otherwise it can go really, really wrong. Yeah, like just as another example, you saw what happened down Hamburg with the copper there again. Yeah, and it's humans. It's not the machines. It's human error. It's people who cheat. Yeah, and again, there surround yourself with people, or surround not only with better people than yourself, also try to look at the character. Yeah.
So trust is a huge thing, right? What you're saying, it's not just about the caliber of the person and how much they can, I guess, benefit your dovetail, right? So their strength might be your weaknesses and vice versa, but also you have to be able to trust these people. And like you say, with what we've seen as of late and previously, I like your way of explaining that it's a creative industry. It's a very good way of explaining that. So it is creative, and yeah, I think you've got to trust the people around you. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Trust is the base of almost everything in our business. Yeah, trust. You have to have a relationship. Then you find out. You learn more about the person you deal with. Yeah. Also have a close contact with people you work with in your own company. On the end of the day, you always have to stay sharp. Yeah, that's how it is. And I think this is crucial that you not only the trust is very important, but also how you deal with the people on the end of the day.
Michael, elaborate with that. What do you mean by how you deal with the people?
Yeah, I mean, you have to it's not only getting, but it's also giving. Yeah, so it's very important on a daily basis that people don't get the idea that you are only want to be on the top of everything. Yeah, you have to. It has, at the end of the day, it has to be a compromise. If you do pricing, if you do how you deal with claims, on the end of the day, it's a positive compromise. Otherwise, it's you do one or two deals, one either side is getting sour, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for long-term relationships, you have to work with people really well, and it's not always. I often say it's got to always be a win-win, but sometimes it can be a win-loss, and sometimes you can lose on a deal. But it's about being consistent and I guess being as honorable as you can and reliable as you can, both counterparties, and that can really build a relationship going forward.
I mean, you know from yourself how you deal with that in the past. Yeah, so how important that is.
Yeah, well, I've sold thousands of tons to you over the last 15 or 20 years. All started back when you came to visit us, actually, when you were heading out to South Africa at one stage. But maybe I'll tell you that story, but a little later we'll talk about how we met. But let's understand. Those are tough trades that you've had to make in markets, but just in general, there must be tough decisions. You said you've been running Oryx now for 30 years. What sort of tough decisions have you had to deal with, and how did you get through them, and what do you think you learned from them?
Yeah, again, there are many. Yeah, so there have been many, and there will be many probably. Yeah, one example is just given a recent example when the market goes really hard down. We're talking about in terms of 3 or 4 prices, couple of €100 or dollars within a week. You look at your contracts, you look at your delivery times, and so on, and there, of course, it is a very difficult decision then to call your supplier and tell your supplier, hey, you are 5 days, one day, 1 week, 1 month too late. Yeah, but it is what it is. I mean, who is taking the loss? Yeah, so these are discussions that are never nice. Also for the traders, it's a learning curve for them as well. Many traders, the younger ones, never experience that. Yeah, I mean, the market goes down 20, 40, $50 maybe a day, sometimes a week even only, but a couple of hundreds in hours or a day. This is something exceptional. Happened lately again, obviously, and yeah, then you have to make decisions. You have to first of all explain your traders why it is necessary. Yeah, the sheer amounts of money which are at stake. Yeah. But also the suppliers. I mean, everybody is threatening you with the end of the business relation, yeah, with all
Yeah, of
sorts
course.
of things, depending on again on the supplier's character. But yeah, then you have to do some tough decisions. You have to say, okay, then that's it. Yeah, I mean, then if your supplier, your partner is not ready to compromise, yeah, even so he is in fault, then it's very difficult to go forward, yeah, because only in bad times it really shows who is your partner. In good times, I mean, it's like a marriage. In good times, everything works. Yeah, in bad times,
Yeah,
you will see
you
if
can.
it's for it's a famous saying in our industry, long term, yeah, or not.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can definitely work that out in
Yeah. So
the
again,
good times.
this is something which is difficult. Then, yeah. I mean, your traders come in, really, Michael. Do we need to do that? I know this guy for so many years. He has this tonnage in the future. Blah blah blah. We all heard it. We all know. Sometimes it's valid, so we make a compromise, and sometimes it's not. Yeah, and then you have to pull through. And I think we had also an issue with you guys when you were still at Endless, but we solved that as well. Yeah.
We did, and I think it's common, right? I mean, there's always going to be times where you weren't able to ship before the latest shipping date,
Sure.
and you weren't able to get it out. But then you go to I'm talking now from the exporter, you go to your buyer, you go to the counterparty, you have that discussion, but you have to also understand as an exporter that the counterparty has covered that in some way as well. And they're in need of that volume at that price that they booked it. If the market has come off, you have to understand the other side. So it's really important to understand and listen to the other side. Of course, as an exporter, we're always going to fight when the price goes down to hold that price for as long as possible. But I guess, yeah, I've always understood the other side, so I've always taken that into
Yeah,
consideration.
absolutely, and yeah, common knowledge. Yeah, I mean, or just inform a week before the end of the delivery period, or so. Just inform, give them guys about what's going on. Yeah, so just don't
Mm.
wait until it's too late. Yeah, this is always what I tell my guys as well, myself as well. Yeah, look at your contracts. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and this has come up before on the show that recommendations have been made that even it's quite easy to communicate with the buyer when things are good. Like you say, it's like a marriage, right? When things are good, everybody wants to chat, and um, but when things are tough, it's more important to front foot it. It's the same as I think their example they gave was when you haven't loaded the best quality and you've committed to a certain quality, but for whatever reason, there was something in your material. Instead of waiting for it to arrive on the other side and sitting there quietly hoping that they won't see it, to front foot it and say, this was in the material, in the photos, or whatever it might be. I saw it, that it was actually loaded. I apologize for it. I'm expecting you when you get it. Please just let me know what that claim is, and we can take it from there. The buyer appreciates that, and then knows that you weren't. I guess the best way to explain it is when it arrives for the buyer and they tip the parcel and it's full of dirt, whatever it might be. The initial thing is that the exporter has tried to um, not necessarily defraud, but try to take a chance, let's say. And if you front-footed it, it's really good for that relationship. And I think the same thing with later shipping dates. If you know beforehand you're going to miss it, contact the buyer early on, let them know that you're going to miss it, and you've got a better chance of being actually able to negotiate and hold that price. Is that right, Michael?
Absolutely. That's correct.
Yeah, good. And on we spoke a bit about how you look at culture, and culture is really important for you and your people. But what about collaboration outside? I know that you've sponsored, I think, do you still sponsor a lot of the BIR events?
We do, yes.
Yeah. So you've
Not
sponsored
like
those
others,
events.
yeah, we do, yes.
Yeah, sorry, say that again?
Not like others to the extent, but yes, we still do. So we
You
don't have
do.
that
You sponsor the events, and you collaborate with the BIR in certain ways. Well, how else have you used collaboration over your time in the industry?
Sorry, I think we have to cut that out. What does it
That's fine.
exactly mean?
Collaboration. So what I mean by that, and I'll ask it again and we'll edit it, but collaboration is working with other people, right? So not just inside. So say, for example, you reach out to somebody because, well, the way I'm using it is for exporters. If they want to know, is Oryx a good buyer, they can contact another exporter and say, what has your experience been with Oryx? So it's kind of collaboration or partnering with other people in the industry. We don't have to ask that question. I'm happy to leave it out if you prefer.
Yeah, we don't really do that.
Okay, yeah. No, I've had that.
I understand what you mean, but we don't really do that. I mean, not outside our own circle, you know.
So what I'm, just so you know why that question is asked, is I'm trying to get exporters to work together more, even if it's like things like ordering equipment, being able to find out from each other what is the best equipment. We don't really speak to each other, so that's kind
No,
of
it's clear. I mean, if you reflect it to our industry, that would be me talking to in the olden days ERG or now Cronimet and see how we can tackle whatever some
so we can
certain
hold the prices.
issue, but that's highly illegal. That's why I
I'll
cannot.
make sure we didn't put this on. This part will be taken off.
Cooperate, comment on collaboration with these guys. So we don't really have that.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just kick on from there. So, Michael, in your career, and it spanned a long time, but what are the highlights that you would think you've experienced in your career so far? And what do you think got you there?
Well, again, there are a few, but I would say anytime we open a new yard, this is a milestone for us because we have a strategy which called the 1 yard model. Yeah, this is a model where we have 1 yard in one region or one continent sometimes. Yeah, this obviously gives us the advantage of control, which is very important for us as a small organization. Therefore it's important for us to have that sort of strategy. But what that is, you have to cut that out as well, so I'm gonna humble.
That's fine.
I start again.
For us, career highlights.
One of the highlights obviously is always when we open new yards. Yeah, so we have this concept of 1 yard model, which means we open a yard in one region and don't have 20 yards, for example, in Germany. It's purely of controlling reasons. Yeah, and we are a small organization. So, I would say the move from the Fondel yard to where we still now today in Dordrecht was a major step. Yeah. Then obviously the takeover of KMR in Germany, Mühlemann an der Ruhr, was a major step for us to go into the German market deeper. And then the takeover of One Steel Recycling in Thailand was a major step for us to go into Asia. These are the highlights, some of the highlights in my career. Yeah, and obviously we did it as a team. I'm very proud of that. And how do we get there? Yeah, how do I get there? I mean, I shouldn't say that, but the first word is always luck. Yeah, you have to be at the right place at the right time. Yeah, and it's very easy to put it on your shoulders as a reward, but it is a lot of luck involved, hard work. You must anyway work hard. Yeah, and then it's all about the team. Yeah, and to grow your business, obviously you look at opportunities. Yeah, and these were opportunities which came up, and we took the chance and advantage of it. Yeah.
And are you expecting more of these highlights in the future?
There will be 1 or 2, yes.
Fantastic. I look forward to watching the space closely. And Michael, with regards to the exporters, so when the exporters are selling to, let's just take you guys as an example, and selling to Oryx, what do you think are the tips that you could give them to best optimize their strategy? So how do they become better traders with you, or sellers to you, or suppliers of yours?
I mean, obviously, first things we look at is quality, yeah, quality, and ethics. I mean, how people behave. Same for us. How do we behave? Yeah, so how our traders behave towards our suppliers. Very, very important. And you have heard that 100 times in your life probably is relationship. Yeah, you must have a good relation. So for me, I always say to my traders, our suppliers, they have maybe 3, 4, 5 people they can sell to. Yeah, we have thousands of suppliers. So for me, it's very important that our traders create a relationship and they really mean it. Yeah, so they have to learn about the supplier's material, supplier himself, what is important for him. Yeah, where can we help? Yeah, where can he help us? It's a learning process. So engage with us. I always say, yeah, make the effort to visit us, like you did as well. See how we operate, so you understand our processes. The other way around, the same. So our traders will come to you. Yeah, they will spend time with you, see what sort of material you have, see what is possible, and then yeah, this is. I think there's not much more of a secret into that. Yeah, so just have a relation and don't do it once a month or every half a year. Do it weekly or might as well daily. Depends on how important this relationship is for you. Yeah, but this is key for me. So learn about the material. I mean, quality and good ethics is anyhow a standard. Must be a standard. Otherwise, it's a very short-lived relation.
Yeah, I think it's a great starting point. Absolutely. And as a sound bite, I think those two things are absolutely key. Just to touch on some of the things you said there, which was obviously what you've instilled in your traders are some of those things, because, keeping that relationship is really important. I've known Patrick Rose now for a really long time, who's with you guys, and he still sends me every year a bottle of wine for my birthday. So if you're not getting a bottle of wine for your birthday from Oryx, you better speak to your trader and find out what's going on. But and Kai Kunda, I've got to know your team really well, and it's definitely what you said there. Your team absolutely does. So it's quite easy to build a relationship with your team. But as you say, I think you've got to make sure, as an exporter, if you want those relationships, you've got to have the right quality, and the ethics have to be there. Otherwise, it'll be short-lived. There'll be no long-term relationship if you can't hold up those two parts of the bargain, I guess, or those two parts of your end.
Yes, 100%.
And when exporters are looking for new buyers, what should they be looking out for?
How do you mean that?
So when exporters, so your suppliers, are looking for new buyers, right? So most of the listeners are exporters. So when these exporters are looking for buyers, what should they look out for?
I mean, obviously, for us it's different. So we only have two handful of buyers in the world that we supply to. Yeah. So, but in general, for exporters, obviously there are the normal institutions like ISRI and BIR. It's always good to check these companies. As we discussed before, trust is a big issue, and if you have a good reputation, it's probably known in the market. Yeah. Being a member of the BIR, for example, should at least give a certain reference, and you can check it obviously within the BIR. Other than that, the internet is a great invention, yeah. So you can check a lot there, and again, just make the effort to not only call the buyer, but actually go there, visit him, yeah. Make sure where your material goes. How he operates, how the buyer how the buyer standing is, so go really deep. So just not look for the highest price and somebody who's in a business maybe more than a week, but really look behind the curtain. So make sure that is solid. Yeah. So this is very, very important. Was very important in the olden days and is very important now.
Yeah, great. Maybe even more so now. do your due diligence, make sure you get to know the buyer, make sure make sure you know who you're dealing with on the other side
Right.
as much as possible. Make sure you do some sort of vetting process. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this
I think it
is
is.
clear. Yeah. So everybody does these days, or should do at least a KYC check, a compliance check. Yeah. It should be standard for everybody who's entering into a new business. Yeah. We do that
Yeah.
certainly with every new onboarding. This is standard procedure. It's not only something we want, but also the banks and everybody involved in your processes is looking at this.
It's an interesting one, Michael. So I remember dealing with you guys. We got a KYC document after dealing with you guys for a long time, but we go on because it became a standard process for you guys. I don't believe it is necessarily for the exporter a process, but I think it's something that we should really all look at. Having some sort of process where it's a KYC, so it's a know your customer, and it just gets them to fill out certain information, so you are doing a check, so you are addressing all the questions that you would want to have answers for, and you do them every single time systematically. Also, it allows you to scale, I guess, or grow. As an owner operator, you don't have to do everything, as long as you know that whoever is selling for you is now selling to somebody new and they have filled out or gone through the KYC process. It's also really helpful to have in place.
Absolutely, there should be an industry standard which is not there yet. Yeah, but maybe that's something which looking forward has to be established, maybe by somebody like the BIR or E3 to give a template to the many members. Yeah, because this is really needed. I mean, we do it anyhow. We have a strict KYC in place, or compliance checks in place. And I only can recommend it to everybody in the industry. I mean, we hear on a daily basis about frauds, bigger and smaller ones. Yeah, there is a lot of fantasy in the market to steal your money. And with the internet these days, it's getting even more complicated. So make sure who your counterpart is, and don't rely on just the internet. So, like I said, go deeper, visit the person you do business with, yeah, and make these phone calls and make sure you have a good feeling before you supply material or you pay somebody.
Yeah, and you touched on ISRI and BIR. I guess you can't necessarily, if you are a smaller entity, get out to every single new buyer when you want a new buyer. But those events that they host have got a lot of buyers at them. So if you can't necessarily get out to to visit a new buyer every few months or every few weeks or whatever it might be, if you can get to those events and hopefully tick off 5 or 10 new buyers at that event and make sure you meet them and get to know them there, that's really helpful, I find.
Absolutely, it's a great marketplace to meet people. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not everybody has a budget to travel to 10 new buyers, for example. So
Exactly.
it's definitely a great marketplace to meet people and talk to people and maybe get new relations going. Maybe the buyer
Yeah.
can visit you then if he has a bit more money than you.
Yeah, exactly. Let him come visit you once you build that relationship at the BIR. Is really exactly right. My question for you, this is a bit of an interesting one. I'm wondering, we've touched on a few things. I like to kind of understand how we become preferred suppliers, but we've touched on quite a lot of that already, right? Quality, ethics, those things are important. But would you say that preferred suppliers get better prices? And I know that might sound like a silly question, but a lot of the times people believe, well, that is just the price. The price is what the market price is. Do you find that preferred suppliers get better prices?
Well, preferred suppliers. Preferred suppliers is not only pricing. Yeah, preferred supplier for me is also somebody you buy if you, for example, in the market for a certain month with less quantity. So then you give your preferred supplier, because the way your relationship goes with him or them for many years, you give them the opportunity to still supply you even the market is down and nobody wants to buy his material. Yeah. And preferred pricing is very difficult. Quite honestly, margins most of the time don't give room for higher prices. Yeah. So unless obviously you finance your buyer, then certainly there are deals in place. If you finance your buyer, if you have the means and you give him whatever line, I think this is purely finance cost, which is lately also very important. So this is a way to get preferred prices. Otherwise, it's already an asset to be a preferred supplier in many ways. Like I just said, if in bad markets or downward markets, you still can place your material, and this is an asset itself.
That's interesting. So I've always looked at it as trying to achieve a better price, but what you speak about there is really important. I mean, we find ourselves often in a short window where you can't place your material, and so being a preferred supplier actually gives you that opportunity to sell it when others can't necessarily get it out.
Absolutely. Same for us, but
Yeah,
for us it's a bit more difficult.
yeah. You've got a whole nother animal to try and you've got a lot more volume to try and deal with.
But even then, I mean, even there for us, it helps. If you over decades by now supply the mills, and you always in good and bad times supply material. When it's the other way around, at least it should be that you are a sort of preferred supplier in that way, that you can still sell your material. But it's not always the case.
Yeah, exactly. And how have you seen the industry change? You've been with Oryx for 30 years. How have you seen the industry change over that time?
Well, when we started, we had telex, we had a fax machine, and we had no internet. We had no mobile phones. That's always a bit different. So markets were not transparent. We started when the Soviet Union collapsed. So our biggest market was obviously to grow, not Western Europe where we are based, but it was the Soviet Union. So and there obviously it was a whole different ballgame. We started with military scrap, with slacks from some stainless steel producers in Russia and so on. So it's a whole podcast by itself. But over the years, I would say the internet, of course, and the information which came with the availability of information changed the industry in many ways, good and bad. But for us, it is a possibility, or was a possibility, also to grow. So our reach is bigger now. Talking about China, talking about Southeast Asia, talking about other parts of the world where it would have been very difficult to grow the way we grow also our supplier base without the communication possibilities we have today. I remember the times when you had to stand half a day next to a fax to wait until the contract got through. That was half of your day gone. These days you can do much more during a trading day. So you can do numerous trades. You can communicate. You can do dozens of calls, which every trader should do, by the way. Also cold calls. My young guys out there. But these are the major changes. And obviously, the awareness of the environment is also a very, very big change from the old days to now, which becomes very, very important the way forward as well.
It's funny you talk about waiting for a fax to come through, right, as a contract. I used to work with a guy, Matthew McRae, at the Reclamation Group, and he was Ian McRae's son, and he used to tell me a story about we had 85 yards through Southern Africa, and when you got in trouble as a manager at one of the yards, if it was for whatever reason, you were told, go stand by the fax machine. And you would wait by the fax machine for maybe an hour, and then some HR letter or some letter, a warning or something would come through the fax machine. But you knew that if somebody said to you, go stand by the fax machine, you knew you were in a bit of trouble. So I think times have changed. Times have changed a lot now.
I think a big part of your audience doesn't even know how a fax machine looks.
Yeah, exactly. And then you mentioned telex, and so did Michael Lyons mention telex. And I never saw a telex, so I wouldn't even know that. So, now it's crazy. The new generation don't know what a fax machine is. So, who knows what's next? That'll be interesting. Absolutely. And on social media, there's a lot of noise on social media, and everybody gets involved. And I find it very positive, and I really enjoy being on LinkedIn, and I learn a lot, and I engage a lot with people. I absolutely love it. But is there anybody in the industry that you find is making waves or doing some interesting things that we should look out for in a positive way?
Well, can't point out a single company or person there. Yeah. In general, what we see at the moment is bigger companies in Europe, for example. I mean, these stainless steel producers in my industry, like Outokumpu, Acerinox, Aperam, Tani, all these guys all have a green agenda these days. Yeah. And the difference between the past and now is they really mean it, because the market also dictates it. Yeah. The market wants a greener product. The market wants to know the full supply chain. Where is material coming from? What raw material is used to produce a coil or a sheet? Therefore, this is something which we watch with interest. I think this will define and change the industry the way forward. And this is also a possibility to be competitive for the European industry, yeah? Giving the fact that these days stainless steel production is, at least in Asia, Indonesia, China, a very dirty process with the usage of NPI. And there is clearly a disadvantage for people here in Europe if this sort of material comes into Europe. Yeah, and I think the way forward, this will change. Yeah, we will have carbon border adjustment in place. We will have the CO2 balance much more present in decision making of what you buy, what sort of raw materials you use in your production, and this is a big chance for the industry. And I think the last 2 or 3 years, all these companies I just mentioned did a tremendous job in implementing processes to make sure that they actually implement all these standards I just mentioned. Yeah, and again, this is a big chance for us as well. And this is something I'm watching with interest. Yeah.
So, with that in mind, what do you think the next 10 years looks like in this industry?
Well, in 10 years, you can make a postcard about fishing, golfing, and traveling with me, not about the industry, hopefully, anymore, because I'm at that age. Yeah. But again, this jokes apart, clear is this that we will see a whole different industry from what we see now. So, what I just mentioned will be standard. I foresee, which is good for my business at least, is a very high scrap ratio, which you already have in Europe. But I think Asia has to follow if they want to sell their product into Europe, the US, and other countries. So this is something which will be change the industry within now and the next couple of years. I don't think it will be even 10 years. I think we're talking about 2 or 3 years. When all these border adjustments come in place, the market has to and will react very fast. Yeah, so we will see a much cleaner industry if you say so.
Yeah, sure. That's kind of the end of the standard trading questions to help everybody, learn a bit about. But there's a bit more. I want to just get to know Michael a little bit. But before I ask you the final few questions, I'm going to tell you quickly how, or remind you, I'm not sure if you remember how I met you. So it was about 15 years ago, and it was a long time ago. We were in Istanbul for a BIR, and it was on the water. I don't remember where it was. I think it was a museum, big staircase down, beautiful, beautiful setting, and you were the main sponsor. And I was obviously much younger. We were all much younger. It was 15 years ago, and I was a part of the young traders. And I was standing with a group. I must have been, I don't know, I was probably 28 years old. I was standing with a group of young traders, and you walked past, Michael, and you don't know this story. I've never told you this. And these guys turned around to me and said, well, they were saying to each other, "That's Michael Pawlowski." And I said, "Who's that?" And they said, "If you know Michael, or if you get to know Michael, your stainless steel is sorted for the rest of your life." And they said, "But he is the scariest man you'll ever meet." Okay. They said he's super intimidating. So I like a good challenge. I know. Well, I think a lot of people are until you meet them, right? And this is kind of my point is going to be that when you go to places like the BIR, don't be intimidated by people that are just they seem to be, or people tell you they own this business or they run this division or whatever. Go and meet them and go. So what I did was I actually thought challenge accepted. I was there. I had a task for my company in South Africa, which was to go and find certain buyers. And I went to the bar when I saw you at the bar and I stood next to you. I didn't know that you owned a property in South Africa. And I stood next to you and you were trying to order a bottle of vodka.
Oh,
And you got the bottle of vodka. And I made a comment to you, and I don't even remember what the comment was. It was something about like, oh, that's a lot. Are you going to drink that by yourself or whatever? Kind of trying to break the ice with you. And you heard I had a South African accent. And immediately you said to you, your words out of your mouth was, you said, you are drinking this bottle with me now. You're from South Africa. I have a wine estate in Franschhoek. We're going to go. And we sat drinking for about an hour from that bottle of vodka.
Stuart. Wow.
Well, I remember it because I was 28, right? And I was told how intimidating you are. And I remember afterwards going, Michael's one of the nicest guys at the BIR. Like literally we spent an hour drinking and having fun and telling fun stories, especially about South Africa because of your relationship with South Africa. And to answer, I mean, I guess to the point also, my stainless steel has been sorted out since that day. I've always been, I haven't supplied you 100%, but I've always supplied a lot of material, and I've always offered material to Oryx since that day.
When it comes to an intimidating person, I think there was my partner Ewald Slope standing next to me. Maybe you met him, and that you saw him with stainless steel makes me worried. Maybe I paid too high prices, but yeah, thanks for it. I remember that.
So there was, I guess the point there is when you're at the BIR, you're there for a reason. When you're at ISRI, you're there for a reason. Don't be afraid to go up and talk to people. Don't hide away in the corner and just speak to the people you know. We're all there for the same reason. We're there to network. We're there to meet new people. So if you see somebody there that you think you want to get to know, walk up to them, have a chat to them. They're not going to bite you. They usually are actually going to go and join you and have a really good conversation with you.
And another lesson, you don't need to order a bottle of vodka to do so. So don't do that.
Yeah, probably don't.
Also a lesson I can give.
Yeah, because I don't remember anything for the rest of that night. I just remember that beginning part of when I spoke to you at the bar. The rest of it's gone completely.
Yes.
So let's get to know Mike a little bit more. Do you watch TV, movies? What's your favorite TV series or movie?
Jeez, that's a difficult one. I'm not really watching much TV. Movies, there are a couple of them. One, we're talking about the steel industry, is called The Deer Hunter. Watch that one. Called
Right.
The Deer Hunter. I think it's with Robert De Niro from the 70s, so most people won't.
Is it? Yeah, no, but I know the name. But is it with the steel? You said the steel industry. Does it have to do with the steel industry?
It's three friends in the steel industry. I think it was Detroit, and they have to go to the Vietnam War. Watch it. It's a good movie. And another one,
cool.
I have here as a South African here, is Searching for Sugarman. Remember that one?
Of course, Rodriguez.
Good
Rodriguez.
to watch, yeah.
He's incredible. Crazy story. If you don't know the story, you need to go and watch that documentary, Searching for Sugarman. I mean, it's great. We won't ruin it here, but you should really go read up on it or watch it somewhere.
You have some time.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And yeah, exactly. And your favorite place to visit? You've seen a lot of the world. Where's your favorite place to visit?
Also difficult. I cannot single out this one. So I would say South Africa, obviously. Finland, I would say. Switzerland, obviously. Patagonia is very nice. I recommend.
Wow.
All that, not necessarily in that order, but yeah, these are the places I cherish.
Yeah, beautiful.
No.
And Thailand. When you where? Sorry.
Thailand, not only for business. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Absolutely. Are these the places you said in 10 years' time you'll be? What was it? Fishing and playing golf? Did you say?
Well, probably. Hopefully.
Are those the places you'll be going to?
Hopefully, it doesn't take 10 years.
Yeah. Exactly. I hear you. And do you read much? Do you have a favorite book?
Yeah, it's always an excuse not to read time-wise, but yeah, I read. Yeah, the latest book I read actually, I don't bother you, as the German one from Hermann Löns, which you wouldn't know, but it's a South African book. I read an author called Dion Meyer, and the book called Fever. I recommend that as well. Dion Meyer,
Okay.
Fever. Have a look at that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely. I can't stop reading at the moment, so I'm loving it. So yeah, I'll look for Fever. Absolutely. And do you have a favorite quote that people might hear you saying as you walk through the office or at home?
In German, I would say "tu ist gleich" means do it now, do it
Do it
immediately.
now.
So don't wait for I don't know, another day or another week, or whatever decision or whatever you have to tell somebody, do it immediately, do it now. Tu ist gleich.
So I was gonna I was gonna say I hope it isn't what people hear you shouting at people in the office saying, do it now.
Yeah.
I
I
hear
mean,
what you mean.
I always
It's
tell
do it now.
it to
So
myself. So, yeah.
and that's a really good one because how many times do you put something off in general where if you just always rip it off like a band-aid, if you just deal with it right now, um, it gets sorted and you don't sit with anxiety. So yeah, that's a really good quote. I
Yeah,
like
and it's in private life, same as in business. Yeah, if you do
that.
things sometimes right away, it's you got it off your chest, or you have this decision made, and then it's lots of times it's easier than just wait. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, Michael, that's all the time we have for, and
Yeah.
lots of fun. That was great to chat. I'm glad we got to do it. We
Sorry
had
for
spoken
my English
about it for a while.
still. Yeah, but
Say that again.
sorry for
Sorry.
my English, but I'm learning still. So maybe next
Oh,
in German.
Michael.
Huh?
Michael, this was yeah. When I can speak to you in German, then we can talk next time in German, or maybe we'll do it in Afrikaans or one of the African languages next time. Seeing that you're there a lot too.
In 10 years, you.
Yeah, exactly. Michael, thanks so much. It's been
Thank you,
great.
sir. Take care.
Awesome. Cheers. Eh?
Yes. Bye bye.